Alright, so today we're beginning a talk on today's culture of entertainment and why it is so below par. Back in the day, entertainment was something that was a form of expression. People used to use whatever entertainment they were producing, be it a piece of music or a video game or a movie, to express creativity. And nowadays what we see instead is just a way of making a cheap buck. No one's really trying to make the next big thing, and as a result we're seeing very subpar concepts. We're seeing very low class movies. The movies have never been worse. Video games are like a joke to all true artists. Music is beyond bad. You almost can't believe how bad this stuff is. Has no musical rhythm to it. Is all the same. For instance, you can't really tell the difference between one artist's music and another artist's anymore. They're all the same. You listen to any rapper and he sounds exactly like the next rapper. You listen to any pop star and he or she sounds just like the next pop star. You're not getting any diversity anymore. Individuals used to have trademarks back in the day, back in the early days of music in the 50s and the 60s and all that. Granted, not everything was good from that era, but it was far better than it is now, I can tell you that. Nowadays, everything has just been corrupted. Every form of artistic expression has just been decimated by a lot of things. Cash grabbing is a big one, where everyone's just in it for the next quick buck. And then, there are a lot of things that these tracks are pushing. If you're a producer and you want a certain trend to become the new thing, and it's something that's going to get you billions of dollars, or power, or something to that effect, you're going to use these forms of entertainment to drive that agenda forward. You're going to make movies that are about this trend. You're going to make songs sing about this trend. And when I say trend, I mean anything like Facebook or YouTube or anything that can be considered a trend of some form. Modern day expressionism has taken an extreme downturn. We no longer see great video games, we no longer see great movies anymore. And it hasn't even happened over that slow or a long drawn out amount of time. Back in 2010, and even a little after that, there were still some movies that were actually not bad. And there will always be a few scattered ones that are still fairly good. If you look at the Marvel group, you've got Avengers was fairly good, and then Captain America, the Winter Soldier was fairly good. Whereas Captain America Civil War, that was not good at all. That was trying to cash in on the big fad of all the superheroes fighting each other, which is sort of something that Avengers is supposed to do, not Captain America Civil War, but they tried it anyway and it was garbage. But this type of cash grab seems to be perforating everything in the industry. If you look at books too, I'm a writer, and I'm working on my second full class novel now, although I've written 8 or 9 smaller works. And these books that you see in stores or ebook stores or wherever, they're so pathetic. There's hardly an original idea in the entire lot. Hats off to anyone who does have an original idea. There are a few, but everyone's in it for the small profit. I'll release 5, 6, 7 books in a year, and hopefully one of them catches on slightly and I earn a few bucks off of it. And they go with the self-publishing route, which is fine, but the problem with the self-publishing route is it puts far too much nonsense onto the market of books. You see too many writers who are choosing a writing career not because they actually have much talent, but because they simply want the money that they hope is at the end of it, or the fame, or the whatever. When you can say, oh, I've written 28 books, everyone says, wow, that's quite something. This guy, he's written 28 novels. How many other people have written 28 novels? But then when you look at his 28 novels, most of them are like cheap vampire stories or stories meant to attract just a bunch of girl readers or some stupid thing. Or they're whatever else is in fashion right now. They're a zombie book, or they're a horror detective novel, or whatever else is popular. But these don't make for good entertainment, people. The viewer, the reader, the viewer, the listener, whatever entertainment you're putting out, is listening to this, and he might even enjoy it somewhat, but he's getting so little out of it. Entertainment is meant to enhance the human mind, give you a higher perspective of art, a higher knowledge of what is actually worth knowing. In a movie, say, if you watch a very good movie that has a lot of original stuff to it, that's going to inspire you for generations. I myself am not a particularly big fan of Avatar, the movie. However, I have to admit, after seeing it for the first time, in all of its original ideas, they were copying a lot of things, but they compiled it all together into a fairly original concept. After seeing it for the first time, I was very inspired to go back to those old fantasies I had dreamed up throughout my younger years, and go back and improve them, and then build new concepts and build new fantasies. And at the end of the day, that is what you want to do as a production, whether it be a book or anything. You want to make the viewer feel like he's gotten something, and now he can take that something and run with it, and then maybe one day he might be the next person who has a large concept that's all original, but it was still made using the tools you had given him. When you write a really good song, really good beat, really good chorus, really good lyrics, well thought through everything, instrumentation and all that, you inspire people to hum their own tunes to themselves, and the really creative types, you inspire them even more. You inspire them to get out there and grab a guitar or a violin or a piano or something and start creating music. And they might not create the best stuff, but they're gonna give it an all original try, because your piece of music has really inspired them into how wonderful music can be. But when you write a piece of music that's exactly like every other piece on the market, of course the lyrics are a little different, but even then they're not that different. All the baby 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 stuff over and over and over again, you hear that so many times. When you're just writing that because you want to make the top 10 charts, there's really nothing that one can say for your music. It's just there to get you popularity, and there's no originality to it, no inspiration to it. You're just writing something for the sake of getting money. And another thing, and this is a hard one for a lot of people to swallow, but it's necessary to say every now and then, not everyone who creates a form of entertainment was meant to create that form of entertainment. For instance, if you're a very lousy director and you're no good at directing anything, the market should weed you out. And that's very cruel. It sounds very cruel, but it's true. The market should weed you out. You are not good at this particular thing. Perhaps you're good at something else. Perhaps you're very good at something else. And when you face a little bit of opposition and you are forced out of this industry, you follow another pursuit, and perhaps you're very good at that, and then you're thanking the people who fired you from your director's job because it brought you to something that you were much better at and that you're actually very good at. Everyone has their own particular talents, but if you're someone who's working on a pursuit that you're not good at, but you're just doing it for the money, or you're doing it for the popularity or whatever, there should be a market that doesn't accept your work. If it's no good, it should not be accepted. I even would go with this myself. For instance, my first book, which I wrote, was a good book. I put a lot of effort into it, 2.5 years into it, but I would have to admit that it's not as up to par as my other novels are, and I still try to sell it to an extent because I think it was a good book. But if someone said to me, well, we have to make the choice here. You can either try to sell your newer novels or try to sell the old ones. I would definitely take the old ones off the market. I would just say, well, they're not up to par. And this is something that very few people in the market want to do. Everyone wants their product to succeed, and they put out as many products as they can. But what they don't understand is that there's a reason why a lot of them don't succeed. And maybe if they didn't succeed, if these dime a dozen novels, I'll say, for example, didn't succeed and they all bombed and no one read them, period, who knows how the market would weed them out. But if it was able to weed them out, perhaps we would see higher quality entertainment rising to the top more. We would see books written that actually have a lot of caliber to them. And these are pretty rare. It is very hard to come up with an all-original concept and all that. But then people would work harder on their concepts. For instance, I read the other day it was a site about agents who market to publishers. And they said agents accept about one book out of every 1,000 that are submitted. One book out of every 1,000 that are submitted, the agent will accept, and then he still has to go to the publisher. Now the publisher will probably accept his nomination because the publishers trust the agents mostly, and you almost can't blame these agents for accepting so little. Think of how many garbage concepts they get. If one of these people who writes, 10 books a year, 10, say, 200-page novels a year, continues to come to an agent and keeps trying with that agent, trying to get one of these books to press. That one person is swamping this one agent with 10 books every year. And, there are plenty of these people out there who continue to attempt to put stuff like this on the market. And if you're these agents, you can't accept hardly any of this stuff. If you bring this to the publisher would laugh at you and say, this is nothing. This is just stupidity. I'm not publishing this. And can one really blame them? Some of these concepts are very bad and very unoriginal, very uninspired. Most of it isn't going to be particularly that good. You need to spend time and research and effort on a certain concept. Whatever it be, it could even be something as simple as how to fish in brooks, instead of rivers. But if you put a lot of time and a lot of research and a lot of effort into that one book and you finally get that book published after like a year of working on it, that book is going to be far, far better than had you just taken, a book about, one about brooks, one about streams, one about ponds, one about, fishing in swimming pools. And, you put all that out there, and it's all bad. So instead, you wrote 5, 6, 7 books in 1 year instead of just the one, but because it was so low quality, you had nothing to sell the agent, and the agent says to you, well, I'm not bringing that to the publisher. And then it seems that the market is a very closed place, when in reality the market is just waiting for something that's actually not subpar. They're waiting for something that is actually original, something that is actually well written, well put together, and something that will actually sell if they bring it to a publisher. And movies are of course the same way, so are video games, and so is music and anything. Now music, they tend to push in a slightly different way, so I won't go too much into that. But in movies, for example, you see so many hit the theaters each year, and so many of them are just based off garbage concepts. Everyone's trying to make a movie that makes money. No one's trying to make a movie that is actually entertaining. No one's trying to make a movie that actually has a good concept, good acting, good characters. Everyone's just trying to make a movie that is generally accepted and generally makes a few bucks. But you're not really going to see many of those hit the market because people are so prepared for it. And they're so prepared for these subpar concepts that no one really wants to invest their time in something that was simply made just to make money. We'll get a retired old actor, somebody, and put him in the movie, and we'll try to get a silly concept together about grandpas or whatever, and hopefully people buy it because they think it's funny, and then hopefully we make money off it. Whereas in reality, what they should have been saying is, why don't we make something that's original? They started at the wrong place, is what I'm saying. They're saying to themselves, why don't we make money off a concept? And then they try to think up a concept. Whereas they should be starting at the point of, why don't we make something that's worth people's time? And the money will come later. So I hope you liked this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment for more. And I will see you around.